Good afternoon. Firstly, I would like to thank the partnership and especially Dr. Julie Howard. She gave a challenge that the measures we are using for CAADP, the 10% to agriculture, the 6%, are very general, and there is probably need to develop an index that measures. The same way you would have someone say there is so much money coming out of the US government going into Africa, how much is going into Africa? How much of it is actually trickling down to the field, to the farmer, to the woman? We take that challenge seriously, and I would like to convey that as FANRPAN, we are starting to look at what to do to come up with that. As introduction, FANRPAN is one of the longest acronyms in my region in Southern Africa. But you can find SADC in the FANA, which is Food, Agriculture and Natural Resources. And then the PAN, we are Policy Analysis Network, and we will benefit from linking with other networks here. We believe in my network that CAADP is a framework which is read and seen and interpreted differently by different countries and different players. And because of that, there is need for country-based activity to ensure that its implementation is effective. Those are some of the challenges that we see in African agriculture. That slide shows Southern Africa, where I come from. There are 9 countries represented there. Up to 2004, 5, 6, they were investing less than 5% of their national budgets to agriculture, despite appending their signatures at head of state level in Maputo in 2003. If you look at the low productivity of agriculture, I have just taken from COMESA versus global. Those crops are very critical for food security in my region. The 19 COMESA states used 19 billion to import food in 2008. And if you look at the yields, they show a picture of how poorly African yields are compared to the global averages. There are very good policies on paper in Africa, but very poor implementation and no review. We have poor in-depth research. There was a question on universities. Most of the work that we do is almost on a consultancy base. Lucky if that consultant is from Africa. But then there is no institutional memory built. All of what has been done in the last 6, 12, 18 months when the consultant is working, walks away with the consultant. And it's worse if it's an American, British, European expert who comes. They walk away with the paper, they leave behind, and they walk away with the experience. And our institutions do not have that growth, and they don't keep memory. We actually don't have longitudinal studies happening in Africa. Most of it is consultants. Up to now, with all these objectively verifiable indicators, very little has been done towards that. Why? We think, just focusing on CAADP, the continental and regional bodies are disconnected from the operational level. I think my brother Boaz will agree with me. AU cannot touch a farmer. Even COMESA or SADC cannot touch a farmer. But the best they can do is give us a framework that is good. Don't think of Africa as Africa. That is, as opposed to country-based approaches, is what people are starting to think is the best way to go. Don't think of Africa and then assume one brush paints everything red and it all looks red. Then the varying interpretations of development frameworks, the varying levels of development and preparedness. We have the example of Malawi. People may critique and say not everything that went into their program was positive. But in Malawi, the president came in against all odds and put all his money where his mouth was. And at one time, it went up to 16%. Last year, it was 14% investment towards agriculture. You will not get the same in all the countries. There are some who are still 5% and below. I received a document from Dr. Howard, the USG consultation, and I sent it to all 13 nodes that represent our network in all 13 countries in Southern Africa. Very little came. You know why? Because Africa has an oral culture. If you had put them in a room and asked them to say what they thought about it, 2 days would not be enough. So going forward, this is very critical. Going forward, if you would like to engage Africa and get out of them that which works, please recognize the fact that Africa was built on an oral tradition, and that's still continuing today with all the PhDs that we have. Oral remains. Actually, we say if you want to hide something from an African, write it down. The current work that we are doing now is 6 tasks that we are doing on behalf of COMESA in its 19 countries. But why would COMESA want to do that? If anything, it's the acknowledgement that as a regional government, as a regional economic community, it cannot reach the people. There is need to reach the people at country level, and they chose an institution that has presence at country level. There were drafts that were done, written from the top to represent the region, and were expected to cascade downwards to be accepted at national level. We have seen that that doesn't work. We are starting to write from the different countries. That should build up to give us a regional synthesis of what a COMESA CAADP regional concept paper would look like. In the second one, we are designing programs, program implementation plans focusing on youth and women. Because COMESA has seen that women are the face of agriculture, to use a quote from my sister. Women are the face of that. And the youth, there is a challenge to bring the youth into agriculture if agriculture is going to have a future. All our agricultural people are old. All the women that we are talking about are old. The young women are not in agriculture. How do we bring them so that there is a continuation and women are the face of agriculture forever? The young ones also have to come in. So there is a need to come up with an implementation program that focuses on women and agriculture in COMESA. Then the inventory of key stakeholders with whom COMESA can work. If we had not brought the CAADP framework, it would have been very difficult to understand that these things, different things that people are doing, are actually building towards a common appreciation and common understanding. And then the last is the review of institutional setup of COMESA itself as a regional economic community. Is it ready to do that kind of CAADP work on behalf of AU, and consult and recommend appropriate institutional arrangements to make sure it meets AU's expectations? FANRPAN is not represented if the critical stakeholders are not represented in a country. I have blown out Zambia. Government is the convening member. The permanent secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture is the convener of any FANRPAN activity in any country. But they come to the table as an equal partner, to a CSO representative, to farmers' organizations, to private sector, and to researchers. And researchers are our universities and policy research institutions. That is a picture of CAADP. Rwanda was the first to sign, and those countries have now signed. Those are expected to sign by the end of the year. And thank you. That's us in Mozambique. That's Dr. Howard and...
Thank you, Mr. Hale. That was very interesting to... I can sense a growing evidence-based advocacy group developing here, and that's very interesting.